is vital and invaluable experience for a group of players that don't have a lot of Champions League experience, for a manager that doesn't have a lot of Champions League experience. This is what it can be like sometimes, right?
I like to party goddamn hard, everybody. Welcome to the Football Ramble. Arsenal won a penalty shootout. The England squad looms. It's Wednesday, 13th of March. I'm Marcus Speller.
I'm Jim Campbell.
I'm Pete Donaldson.
And I'm Andy Brassel.
Hello, everybody. What drama! What drama we had last night in the old football. My goodness, though, it's Wednesday today. We've all calmed down a little bit and we can digest it, we can process it. And if you're Jim Campbell, you can celebrate it.
Absolutely. Eventually.
We were all glued to the television due to that pulsating 1-0 victory for Arsenal against FC Porto last night, which went to penalties, Pete Donaldson.
Yeah.
Were you excited when it went to penalties, or do you get... I still... Even if it's not one of my teams,
do you feel a
'cause
bit
I have
sick to
teams
your stomach?
everywhere. I'm the Manchester City of the football supporting world. There's still a bit of nervousness. And then you mentioned the Euros the other day, and I just thought, well, this is going to happen in the summer, isn't it?
Well, it was nice seeing, obviously, Saka slammed on home, and he has been slamming them home. And I was like, yes, good.
On that, TNT Sports commentator, Darren Fletcher, when Saka steps up, goes, Saka always scores. I was a bit like, there was one occasion.
That was a wild thing to say, wasn't it? Yeah.
In fact, there was even 2 occasions against Liverpool, I believe.
Yeah.
Not his
It's
finest.
not a sense of he has put it behind him, and we are all going to collectively believe he has put it behind him.
Well, we do now, Andy.
He steps up. He steps up, which is maybe what 53-year-old Fletch meant.
Yeah. Good to know his age. That would, yeah. So, Jim, you were our man on the ground, or in the stands, should I say?
I've been told in no uncertain terms that I cannot go onto the pitch, but I was in the ground.
Yeah,
By
exactly,
by Gunnosaurus. That's the only reason why he's there, to keep Jim off the pitch.
And why he's got that,
surprised at how quick he is.
and why he's got that cannon.
Yeah.
So, yes, how was it in the stadium as it unfolded that Arsenal were going to go through?
Well, I think the crowd heeded Mikel Arteta's pleas for volume and for sort of very, very vocal support. The atmosphere
lot of
was really, really good. A lot of that. Obviously, over that length of game, though, the crowd tire as well. So there were points where the energy levels were like, yeah, come on,
Send them all to Dubai.
Yeah. You need substitutions. Is there people outside the stadium?
maybe. AFTV, you're up. You can come back in.
That's simply not countenance, though.
Yeah.
No, but it was a very emotionally draining night because it was such a sort of difficult task with the way Porto set up to play the game. And obviously, they was going to do that. The first leg was an indication of that. And I think this is vital and invaluable experience for a group of players that don't have a lot of Champions League experience, for a manager that doesn't have a lot of Champions League experience. This is what it can be like sometimes, right? It's not always the glamorous kind of free-flowing football of the latter stages. There are points where very good teams, compared to the level that you're used to playing, will come and set up and spoil and make life very, very difficult for you. And it was a difficult game that became a battle, and I was very impressed by how Arsenal played the game in front of them rather than the game they wanted to play, because that was some of the stuff that used to happen under Wenger sometimes. It's like, if we can't play our way, then, we've not really got an answer to that, and we'll just get annoyed about it and take our ball home. And there was that wasn't what happened.
Yeah, I mean, Andy, with Arsenal's budget and all, should they really be celebrating beating Porto in the Champions League? It's quite pathetic, really, if you think about it. They've got a 41-year-old at the back, Porto do.
Who played bloody well.
By the way,
Played the whole game as well.
I'm not joking. He's 41.
And you're whinging about crowd fatigue.
Poor old Pepe. It's extraordinary. Because normally, when you sort of, a player gets to say 36, 37, you think, oh, that's impressive. You get beyond that, you get into sort of Thiago Silva territory. You're like 30. But he's 30. 41.
But you see him regularly, and he's still good regularly.
And
I think
Andy,
he's
he's
one of the better centre backs in the world.
This is Sir Stanley Matthews-esque.
Yeah.
It's unbelievable. The man was a few kicks away from being in the quarterfinal of the Champions League.
It's not like he's not like he's one of those players who just adjusts his positioning and doesn't run anymore. He was pretty all action.
Oh,
and
man.
he was playing next to Otavio, who's a very inexperienced defender, sort of coaching him as well. So he had like jobs within his jobs.
Did he lie about his age to make him older?
to make it sound more impressive.
Yeah.
Well, I always used to say that, though, when there were certain players who were, it was found that they were kind of 8 years younger or whatever.
Right,
It's like, come clean. You were playing in Serie A when you were 45.
I mean,
Incredible.
Jim was talking about Porto's tactics, which I thought was definitely more the case in the first leg, actually, when they were at home. But one of the French reports on that first leg saying Pepe's outstanding of 41, or nearly 41 as he was coming up to the first leg. But
He's only recently 41.
Yeah, he could be 47 and play in that team because they play so deep, which I thought was quite interesting. But I think if you're looking at the medium to long term for Arsenal, which I'm not sure is really the vibe here, because they got through to the Champions League quarterfinals and celebrate it. You should celebrate it. But I think if we're talking about, and Jim was talking about stuff that Arteta could learn from that, I think it's a good example of how football discussion, particularly online, sort of polarizes into black and white, because so many people were saying over Christmas, Arsenal have to buy a centre forward, based on the fact that they were missing chances over that little period. Now, I think if you look at the goal output of the team and the way they wanted to play, it was clear that it was going to come right at some point. Like, the process, for want of a better word, was pretty good. But that was a game last night where you thought, yeah, they could do with like a proper, in inverted commas, centre forward. Well, because I think of Pepe, actually. The thing that made me think of it was Pepe. The only time I've seen him all over the shop this season, when they played Sporting back in December, they got beaten quite comprehensively. And Victor Gyökeres, who's been brilliant this season, who was, of course, playing for Coventry last season, absolutely took him to the cleaners.
What type of striker is he?
He's a big, burly, hold-up guy.
So they need to sign 28-year-old John Hartson again.
No, but he's quick as well.
Okay.
Gyökeres is the real deal, and I think there will be some Premier League club that pays probably 4 times what Sporting played for him last summer, this summer.
Oh, interesting. Well, of course, last night Arsenal progressed into the Champions League quarterfinals, which obviously meant the scenes of celebration were huge. I mean, it's a bit churlish to say, well, Porto aside, they should be beaten. But as you quite rightly said earlier there, Jim,
Europe's different, though, isn't it?
Europe is different.
Way different.
You've got to get through. Completely different game, isn't it? Really?
Yeah, I thought Mr. Wendell did a good job on Saka. On the side.
Twice.
Exactly. Yeah, and I think, as you said, Porto equipped themselves very, very well indeed.
But they didn't just come and defend.
No,
they made chances. Like,
they were on the break. They were a threat.
Even before it got to the penalty shootout, I thought David Raya was excellent. I mean, the way it was built up, and I can understand because you want a commentary crescendo and all the rest of it. Was like, this is the moment in this penalty shootout where David Raya can prove that Arteta's made the right decision. Well, he's proved that already, hasn't he, really? And I think the fact that it was a game where he knew he'd be standing about for a long time, he stood up and made some really important saves at the moments where he needed to.
It was an interesting performance from an Arsenal point of view in a lot of ways as well, because I think Saka and Trossard, despite his goal, were actually kind of quite off it last night. There was a sense that maybe the passing, both long and short, was off throughout the team a little bit. A lot of stray balls going out of touch.
I thought Ødegaard did all right, though.
Oh, Ødegaard was fantastic.
Yeah.
I think Ødegaard was my man of the match. I mean, not
Agreed.
just because of his assist, his work rate, and just the constant invention. It's like he dances around the ball.
Well, he just and he dances around a very small space. Like, he could play in a phone box. He just makes the most of whatever he's got and gets the ball away. Sorry, phone box is a very old reference. Train station Pret and Manger.
There you go.
For the kids.
Fair. I don't think train station Pret and Manger is for the kids, are they?
Oh no, I'm just saying the reference was. I was up.
Fair. No, well played, sir.
A hot meatball wrap.
There you are.
All the kids are into.
I love a hot meatball wrap from Pret, incidentally. I just think it's. I mean, look, I've said this a little while ago, and I'll say it again, damn it all. It's just so good to see Martin Ødegaard being such a crucial player for Arsenal in this period in Arsenal's recent modern history.
Can you think of anything comparable where you have someone who's a wonder kid who goes to a massive club too early, who doesn't make it, who then goes on to have a brilliant career at another club, at another big club?
Yeah.
It's unlikely, isn't it?
It is. I know
really,
what you mean,
really
which was, I mean, that's exactly what I was going to sort of talk about. It's incredible to think of him at Real Madrid a few years ago, and then obviously going to Herenveen and Real Sociedad, where he kind of got himself back on track.
There were definitely times pre-Jude Bellingham where you've looked at Real Madrid and thought, wow, I could really do with a Martin Ødegaard.
yeah, indeed. But yeah, he's a glorious footballer. There's no doubt about
he's
that.
an absolute joy to watch.
Yeah, and I mean that assist for Trossard. I just want to make sure that gets the attention and the finish as well from Trossard.
Yeah, it was a good finish, but there's so much to the assist. You know, there's so many different individual moments within it before he picks that pass so perfectly, and that's essentially the difference maker, isn't it?
It is.
We're talking about needing that X factor, but it's come from a playmaker rather than from a striker.
Yeah, and if that doesn't go in, then I know you open up to chaos theory, but that's the only goal they score, for crying out loud. In the penalty shootout, though, again, this is the sort of Arteta factor, if you like. They just weren't losing that shootout for me. And I know home advantage can be a funny thing with penalty shootouts.
But winning the toss was important as well because it was down away from the Porto fans.
Yeah, I mean, we know the statistics with penalties that isn't it sort of 55 or 60% of those who take the first kick go on to win the shootout. If you're second to take, that may weigh on your mind. I don't know. But there's all these little things if you look into the psychology of penalty shootouts and so on and so forth. And like celebrating the penalties that you score, a side that does that more, again, statistically, win more penalty shootouts.
That's interesting.
Yeah, I know. It's fascinating with these little things. Now, people say, but that's just coincidence. Yeah, but again, if you can only study what's put in front of you.
I think does Keezy know about this?
Argentina certainly know about this.
Well, didn't Thierry Henry basically walk away from the last penalty because he knew it wasn't going to go in because he just saw the body language of the player? I do that.
Was that in a penalty shootout or was that in normal time though?
No, I think it was now, wasn't it? I think it was. I think it was.
Oh, you mean
the
sorry?
Penalty shootout. Yeah,
I thought you meant he was a player.
No, he took the last penalty shootout.
Martin Keown taking this one. I'm not interested.
and he just walked away. And he was heading to catering or something because he knew that he'd missed the chance.
The man also hates to queue, doesn't he?
and he shouldn't have to queue. He should not have to queue at the Emirates.
No,
I don't know.
No, that's true.
If there is a queue, he just sort of runs on the outside then cuts in.
I do. I would like to sort of do like a blind test where someone just showed me 10 penalties and I could just say whether they were missed or just from their body language, not having any context. I would very much like someone to
I know
test
what you
me on that because I'm confident I'd get them right.
It'd be a good thing to learn to fake, wouldn't it?
Yes.
If you can approach looking like you don't have confidence, but know exactly what you're going to do.
But then
Granit Xhaka and his fake hamstring.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
But then you say that, but the chap who scored the winning goal for Porto in the first tie,
Galeno.
He missed
the crucial
on the same day that he got called up for Brazil to replace Martinelli. Isn't that an interesting
But when he
twist?
looked a little bit nervous, but yet his kick was in the corner.
Yeah.
He's very unlucky. I mean, even the one that Raya saved, Raya leapt superbly to the corner.
They were not just penalty shootout saves; they were good penalty saves.
Raya. See, the thing is with Raya in that the save when it ended the shootout. It looked like it was a nice height and it was a nice one for the keeper. It wasn't. It was actually in the corner. The way with massive hands. And he leapt so quickly and so decisively into the corner that he wasn't actually at full stretch. Where it was a superb bit of goalkeeping.
But I think you're right about the atmosphere and the environment and all that sort of stuff. Because the two Porto players who didn't score are not just random; they're like bona fide penalty takers as well. If you look at the numbers, Diogo Costa saves a lot more penalties proportionally than David Raya. So I think you're right about it being the moment.
Yes. Yeah. Well, I think I can speak on behalf of Jim, but there were a lot of Arsenal fans and Mikel Arteta saying, I came here for a shootout. And they got it. They absolutely got it.
I think that was more Porto's plan. But
It
doesn't sound as good in a Portuguese accent.
Pepe very much went there for a shootout.
Yeah, absolutely.
Glorious win, though, for Arsenal when all's said and done. And I think the penalty shootout wins. Oddly, it can galvanise you and it can give you more of a spring in your step than, say, a 3-0 win and the job's good.
Absolutely. And I think, as I touched on before, it's vital experience of what European knockout football is like. That has been, something that's been a little bit lacking from Arteta so far. It went out to Sporting at the same stage in the Europa League on penalties at home last season. So, an improvement on that. And also the way the game was refereed was incredibly different. Now, obviously, it's Clement Turpin, one of Europe's biggest bellends, in charge of the game. So you kind of never know what you're going to get from him.
Hang on, do you like him or not? He does a fine job and then you're slagging him off.
Yeah, but it's very, very different, isn't it? I mean, obviously there was a lot of time wasting happening in the first half, and there was a minute of added time, and it is one of those things where you can get annoyed about it, and you can piss and moan and insult the opposition dugout's family allegedly, or you can just accept that this is probably going to be the case, and you just have to play within that.
Yeah.
So it's a vital reminder that sometimes the rules themselves will feel different.
And one of the ways in which Turpin really let everyone down, I thought, bear in mind that Sergio Conceição is a man who, in under 7 years of being Porto coach, has been sent off 24 times.
I was going to say, he's an angry man.
Yeah.
And he got himself a booking. And you're waiting for it. You're waiting for the second booking that never comes.
Kai Havertz clattered him as well in a highlight of the game, which was surprising. So for those who missed it, he said after the game that Arteta had insulted his family, one of whom was no longer with us. Obviously, his son was in the team as well, so I don't know if he's including that. But he's also said similar things about Pep Guardiola and about Thomas Tuchel after games as well. And I think it's part of his sort of like.
Oh, right.
He's brand.
He's doing the Michael Jordan.
surprised.
What are you saying about my family? I didn't say anything about your family.
Yeah. I think there's still some Mourinho on that team, is what I'm saying. You'll never get it out.
Was
fully.
Arteta connecting his brain to his testicles when he said that?
Maybe.
Like kind of
But so
like a telephone exchange.
to get rid of the Mourinho feel, is that why Andre Villas-Boas might be Porto president soon?
Keep it in the family.
Okay. He was at the game, wasn't he?
He was there yesterday, yeah.
But he's in the running for president.
Yeah, he is. The election is at the end of April.
Do you get a vote, Andy? I'd imagine you do.
Several.
Several. That's how it works in Portugal, baby.
Oh, it's amazing that he is like the new blood, taking on a man who has been in charge of Porto for almost as long as he has been alive.
Ooh.
Coming up 42 years, Pinto da Costa has been the president of Porto. He's 86.
Wow.
Blimey. It's American politics-esque.
Isn't it?
So Arsenal into the quarter-final, of course. They're in with Paris Saint-Germain, Real Madrid, Bayern Munich, Manchester City, and Barcelona. I quite like this. On the UEFA website, it's Champions League quarterfinals, meet the teams. As if we don't know any of them. Of course, tonight there will be two more teams joining Arsenal, but Barcelona are definitely one of them into the quarterfinals. They beat Napoli 4-2 on AG, 3-1 on the night. First time in 4 seasons that Barcelona are in the quarterfinals of the Champions League. What a romantic story, Andy.
Well, they celebrated it really joyously at the end. I don't know if it was because loads of them went to Pau Kubasi, the 17-year-old centre-back, because, of course, this was the first time in a Champions League knockout tie that 2 teenagers had started the game.
Yeah.
Kubasi and Lamine Yamal. And I think they were arguably their 2 best players. They're absolutely brilliant. So it was kind of that sort of youthful joie de vivre. And it was also that sense of we've just got the £1 million question on who wants to be a millionaire. Because, of course, they make another 11 million euros for getting in the quarterfinals, and they get a little bit closer to maybe making what a lot of fans and perhaps players don't want, the Club World Cup in 2025. They get 50 million for being in that. And this is all massive for Barcelona.
And let's be honest, they have spent that money.
Yeah, I was going to say, basically,
straight out.
Someone has said, you've
Poop
made
off a shovel.
Yeah, you're right. I think immediately after the final was someone, it's a few more million in the bag. Great. Let's go and chat to Victor Osimhen. We'll give you 80 million. No, you can't. That's just get your abacus out.
Realistically, it's Kubasi going, Dad says we don't have to take the 4D telly back. Hooray!
I cannot get enough of Sergio Roberto's pass to Lewandowski.
Yeah, mate, I totally agree.
It was so unnecessary because he could have put his foot through it.
Yeah.
And he was barely looking, and he just gives it a little slide rule, and I think that's one of my favourite passes of the season, even though it was like 6 feet away.
Yeah. It was. Oh, do you know what?
It was like this is the perfect place to put it, to fire the laser into the mirror. Get it past the keeper.
It was glorious. It was such a lovely goal to sort of end the time.
It felt a bit old Barcelona.
It did,
and so much of the game wasn't old Barcelona. Napoli had load of the ball. Barcelona relied on their current strengths, which is largely playing on the counter-attack. And they're very, very good on it, by the way, from the moment that Fermin opened the scoring. But it's funny, you look at those young players and you think, some people have whispered for years very quietly, instead of spending all that money on Coutinho and Griezmann and Dembele and all the rest of it, why didn't you just lean on the youth academy like you always did?
Well,
and it's just an underlining of the fact that they should have done.
The fact that they have it is such an asset, isn't it? And if anything's going to see them through this really turbulent period, it is that. And we're seeing again the quality.
Not
And that's
sexy
like,
though, is it?
Well,
It's not going to get you on your telly channels, is it?
but it's
But it is sexy though, isn't it? It's their brand.
is, yeah.
It's their brand.
Yeah,
And
absolutely.
what's not sexy is Barcelona spending a lot of money on players.
No, it's not sexy and mature, is what Pete wanted to say.
nice to see Rafinha though, isn't it? Playing for Barcelona. Although
Yeah.
I do think like playing for this Barcelona, it's like being given your own sitcom, but it is on ITV too.
The writing's on the wall, isn't it?
It's good.
It's
It's
good.
good. I am happy about it. It's just like, yeah, you know.
I do know what you mean. Yeah, it's that's very true. Did you know
Jim's got a comedy special out. It's on YouTube. Oh, it's a self-published.
Cost me 10 grand.
So yes, Barcelona, they're in the quarterfinal. Now, from next season, the Champions League draw will be a little tricky. There was talk that they might do this televised, as they often do with the Champions League draw.
Rod Stewart.
Get Rod. Well, Peter,
Rod.
I would be worried at the state of Rod Stewart had they have gone through with a live,
Yeah.
because the new 36-team league format would have required 900 different balls and would have taken apparently 4 hours
Perfect.
to do.
It's only 10
Plenty
minutes
of time
longer than
to
the
get-
current one then.
Yeah.
Plenty of time for a
Yeah.
sleep in the middle. Brilliant.
But they've trialled it, didn't they? So it's like some sort of like UEFA suits have gone and done this. And that sounds like an absolutely arduous afternoon.
Imagine
but
the
you know
UEFA
they had
labs.
it. Imagine the buffet though. Imagine how that was catered. They'd have had a brilliant time.
They would have done, yeah.
I'm imagining like sort of a Mad Men situation where it's a two-way mirror and there's people in white coats doing the balling on them. Well, it isn't very good.
They are still going to televise it though, aren't they?
Well, yeah, so they're just going to give it to the computers.
But surely that's going to take like less than a second. So what are you televising around
So here we go.
Yeah.
Here's the big pomp and ceremony. Da, 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 and here's the draw. Bang! Oh, bloody hell. Okay. So there you go. And it flashes up for like 30 seconds and then they take it off.
Yeah.
Hang on. I only saw the first few teams there.
like the national lottery draw in the 90s where they tried to make it a big event on Saturday night TV.
Oh.
So can this supercomputer be hacked? That's my concern.
Yeah.
Pete, we're looking at you for this.
Anything can be hacked if it's not air gapped. If the computer isn't if it's connected to the internet, it can be hacked, and even if it isn't, it can be hacked.
Right. Okay.
Tragic.
Is that a
Very.
promise?
Yeah.
Yeah. I just
Sitting there like the Chinese government.
don't give it any USB ports, and you should be all right.
Is that how you do it?
Yeah, loads of ways. You can hack a computer in certain things with
Save
using,
it for Ramble Uncut.
using,
No, don't you dare go to a
using
break.
Using they've had people having a computer talk to another one and hack another computer
Right.
using fan speed.
Well, they sweet talk them. Hey.
Fan,
Apple,
so
mate.
fan speed makes a certain noise and makes a certain tone.
Can you do
And
it?
So if you have 50 different tones that the fan can do, that can be used to communicate.
Can you give us a tone?
Uh,
What tone
Actually,
is
that's
that?
quite a good
I thought that was
HVAC fan
Yeah.
noise.
So if
yeah.
you go next to a computer and do that, it'll just spit out, it'll just start printing out.
That one a bit
Bit
Australian
excited there.
TV presenter.
Yeah.
Right, carry on.
Now's a good time for a break.
Is it?
I think so. Right, coming up in the second half, we've got some beef between the Premier League and the Football League, some Liverpool chat with Michael Edwards returning, and Gareth Southgate's England squad. See you in a moment.
It's just all you need is some players to play with. I know you can't say that, but I'm saying it. I just think you need more quality around you. For me, he needs to build the team around you. The quality you have. But that come with a few transfer windows, hopefully, once he gets the right players in.
Welcome back to the Football Ramble, everybody. Tim Sherwood there, at a wedding,
Yeah,
presumably.
at a wedding, tie off, open can in hand, talking to a young member of his family who doesn't really know him that well.
Shall we
Unsolicited.
Indeed, Jim. Right, now, the Premier League clubs and the EFL clubs have been in discussions this week. Now, this is
Very one-sided discussion. Can we have some money, please?
I was about to say.
No.
The Premier League clubs will be like Simon Cowell and Co, and the EFL will be like a contestant in the early rounds of X Factor.
Yeah.
You want some more, do you? Why don't you do a little dance? So this is all about the deal, which is a 6-year deal, which grants the Football League 14.75% of net media revenue with the Premier League, which is to be worth in the region of about £900 million as it goes on. And that's what had been previously mooted with regards to that deal. Premier League clubs are now prioritising an agreement on their own financial model before getting down to this. So the Premier League, they failed to agree this with the EFL. And it's been reported that 10 Premier League clubs made it clear they wouldn't vote for the deal.
Some of the teams mentioned don't spend money well, in my opinion.
Yeah,
That's definitely that.
I think the money should be taken away from them because Palace sign Conor Wickham's every now and again.
That's been actually the argument from a lot of clubs as well, isn't it? That they think it's a lot of clubs' troubles are down to financial mismanagement, which I think is, for want of a better phrase, a little bit rich. Also, the argument that is, and I think, again, this is very narrow, is that, for example, why should a Nottingham Forest pay for a Leicester to try to replace them? But again, it's narrow, isn't it? It's.
I mean, that is about
as
narrow
way,
as the
way more
sentiment
than
could be, really,
exactly, but that is
Isn't
what their argument is. And it's just incredibly short-sighted, and we're seeing it across lots of different culture, right? The live music scene in Britain is really, like, small venues are struggling really, really badly, and they're trying to get sort of bigger venues and big artists to sort of raise a bit of a levy from ticket sales here and there, just to sort of keep the very ecosystem in which that culture exists alive. And I think this is a similar thing, and something needs to happen, doesn't it?
Well,
Something needs to happen.
I feel that we're duty bound to name the 10 clubs in case anybody hasn't seen this. Arsenal.
Yes!
Get in there.
Chelsea, Spurs, Liverpool, West Ham, Aston Villa, Wolves, Forest, Palace, and Bournemouth. PT, Fulham and Newcastle, very happy with it.
No, yeah.
All you've got to do, get yourself, and Man City, get yourself a billionaire.
I mean, what else is Newcastle going to spend their money on? Not allowed.
It is interesting, though, isn't it? Because you've got the looming independent football regulator. It does feel, with the state the government are in at the moment, that there must be a sense of a bit of light filibustering.
Oh,
Yeah.
definitely.
Can put us back in charge of our own.
So the government
destiny.
have threatened to impose a deal on the Premier League, as you say, due
Oven
to
ready?
this. I hope not. Yeah. Well, I mean, microwave ready, maybe. That's what we need in this country. Yeah. So some of the clubs are obviously reportedly threatening legal action should a regulator try and force them to pay, which is quite something. Yeah. The chair of the Culture, Media and Sport Committee accused clubs of parking the bus. Hey,
Yeah.
I love a bit of football, me.
Yeah.
Football phrase book. Have a quick flick
I'm
through
just
that.
like you.
Yeah. No, it's a deal of two halves. No, it isn't.
I mean,
Are you listening to us?
It's probably not a bad play to sort of try and kick this into the long grass because there's so much shit to work out and sort out for the next iteration of the government. So, it probably will be.
But what would you like to see happen, Andy? What do you think's fair and good here? You're the
Well, I think the Premier League
bastion of fair and good all of a sudden.
Yeah, I think the Premier League is doing a really good job, whilst having said all along that we don't need an independent regulator to show that it does need an independent regulator.
Yes.
Because if you look at the profit and sustainability rules at the moment, and the fact that the clubs are struggling and kicking against rules that effectively they have brought in themselves. The Premier League at one point looked really decisive. If you go back a couple of years, it doesn't look at that at the moment.
No.
It looks like it needs help.
I think 900 million across 6 years in the whole of the Premier League just seems a little bit low and a little bit easy for them to kind of swallow a little bit.
Do you know what?
think?
Maybe. Do you know
Yeah,
what would
well-
be? I wouldn't be surprised if certain owners just went, you know, we'll pick it up.
We'll
Get that.
pick it up. Yeah,
Just-
we'll be the good
Wait,
guys.
We'll pick that up and you'll like us a bit more.
Yeah,
as a
it's
result.
like picking up the menu at the end of the,
But of course
the meal, isn't it?
The weird thing is giving over the money is the easy bit. It's not actually saying share best practice, help these clubs look after themselves.
Yeah.
Let's repair the ecosystem. It's a typical Premier League, let's throw money at the problem.
Yeah.
I'm not saying they shouldn't be keen to give the money. They shouldn't be keen to reinvest in the pyramid. Of course they would. But I think from the other perspective as well, there has to be a sense that the EFL clubs aren't going to completely waste it.
Yeah.
Are you confident the EFL clubs aren't going to completely waste it?
Burnley, you give Sheffield Wednesday an old running machine right now. Some old barbells.
Yeah, how much is that worth?
I
It's
thought-
not worth that much, surely.
I thought you were suggesting that because Burnley are so sensible with their money, just give all the money to Burnley.
Yeah, exactly.
I think that maybe
yeah.
counted more for the previous Burnley regime, but yeah,
I mean, in their
know where you're coming
current in their current predicament, do they even get a vote, Burnley?
Yeah, it's a good point, actually. Yeah. West Ham, give Kevin Nolan to someone.
There you go.
Yeah.
He's worth, what, 12 million?
Up top, he probably would be, yeah.
Still. I know. I mean, the discussion will always be, and it's such an intriguing situation with the Premier League and the Football League, because obviously that they both sort of need each other, but they're both part of the same ecosystem. And yet, of course, the Premier League is governed, well, not, it's, a different
There's people
organisation.
with words like government in
Yeah,
there.
well, indeed,
They're not really governed very well, are they?
true. But I mean, but there'll be people from other countries just thinking, why on earth did you sell off the top league, essentially? And that will always be the case.
Yeah.
When you look back, it's easy to say these things years and years after the event, of course. But
It was in the era of the Quangor.
is that right?
That's loosely.
Yeah,
The
true.
Blair thing, Quangors, wasn't it?
So it was a little bit
A little
before.
bit earlier, yeah.
It was before. Right. Let's stay with football and finances and all that kind of stuff. Michael Edwards is returning to Liverpool. Their former sporting director has returned to the club to oversee operations post Jürgen Klopp as FSG's CEO of football. Is he going to be given a war chest, Jim?
I would assume so, or he'll be allocating a war chest, will he not?
Yeah, true.
He'll get to allocate his own war chest as his CEO, for crying out loud.
Yes, that's right.
I mean, he gets to appoint a sporting director and everything.
Yeah, oh, right.
Yeah.
Oh, yeah. So who gets the war chest? I mean, I know we always.
Oh,
think
it's got to be the
manager.
sporting director.
It's the sporting director, isn't it?
Yeah.
Yes, that's true.
Who
think
makes the chest that contains the money?
Yeah. Well, I mean, what do you think of this? Because obviously he had, when he was at the club, great success, of course.
Signed Salah, Van Dijk.
Yeah, and one,
Mane.
it was
Brought Klopp in.
yeah. I mean, it was the most successful period of their history since what would you go back to the late 80s probably?
Yeah.
Yeah.
So that's how good it was. So presumably Liverpool fans will be delighted to see him
Absolutely,
come back.
and probably the best team Liverpool have ever had in that incredible season, and especially
Yeah.
given that they won the Champions League in that era too. And that's that's not something you can say lightly, but I think it does stand up when you look at their achievements. It's something we've spoken about a lot here before, but it's a real coup at a time of upheaval, isn't it? There's
He
gonna be
needed
a lot of-
convincing as well.
Yeah,
by
yeah.
the-
Well, it's
by
a
the
very
reports.
different role, though. That's the
Yeah.
point, isn't it? He's not day to day like the sporting director will be. It's overall strategy, because he told journalists, like actually quite recently, Michael Edwards, that he didn't want to come back to Liverpool as sporting director, and so he's not coming back to Liverpool
Yeah.
as sporting director. They've almost created
Yeah.
an Uber job.
What if we
for-
give you
for
a
him,
bigger
really.
chair? Is essentially what they've said.
A bigger chair in a different office,
Yeah.
in a different location.
Yes.
It feels like that. Like it's like Abramovich and his stadium at Waterloo. He'll be hovering above
Yeah.
the Liverpool training
Little
ground, I
blimp.
think.
Little CEO blimp.
Yeah.
How am I doing,
Pottering
CEO?
You're doing great, lad.
But Jim has pointed out that the interesting thing that hasn't been so publicised is the fact that he will be managing as FSG's CEO of football.
Yeah.
He will be responsible for overall policy at Liverpool and are yet to be determined other clubs. So Liverpool or FSG are going multi-club as well, it looks
They
like.
are. Is that the future?
It feels
well,
that way.
well, it's the
yeah.
present, isn't it?
Well, as in, of course it is, but for very few clubs, it's the present. Do you think it's the
Zeppelin's
future?
the past?
Lead ones?
Lead ones.
Definitely.
Right, okay, yeah. fair.
Yeah. I don't know. The
Airships
Goodyear
in
blimp
general.
still knocking about.
They're still kicking a ball here
Is
and
it?
there. Yeah.
Are you
Yeah,
assuming it's just been untethered and it's roaming free?
Getting out there.
As in it's still alive. I don't know where it's floating. I have seen it in the canvas, not the flesh. I don't know.
Surely
I didn't know it was
surely they
alive.
have-
That's horrible.
Surely
Yeah.
they have more than one Goodyear blimps.
They have
Oh,
a blimp. They have a Volkswagen blimp at half time at Wolfsburg, and because it's quite a
Small one.
compact stadium,
Right.
It's like you were talking about Sergio Roberto dribbling in a phone box. It's like doing Super Mario Kart in a phone box.
Right.
Yes, yeah.
Yeah.
You used to see them at. I'm going to bring in wrestling again.
Yeah,
You used to see
please.
them at- used to see them at wrestling shows quite a lot, and it would just be advertising like Snickers and stuff, and they just look really dangerous. Now, I don't know why they haven't switched to sort of drone technology.
That's true.
Where have all the Zeppelins gone?
It's a strange.
Oh, the
If you're like very, very young and you're growing up and you looked at sort of a Zeppelin or a blimp, or whatever you want to call
It's
it,
quite
you would be
eerie.
like,
You would
why is
think
that
that's-
still?
Why
it would
is
be
that
like
still
someone.
happening?
It would be like suddenly seeing people riding around on penny farthings instead of like your rental bikes and stuff. You're like, surely these are done.
Yeah.
These
We've
should be
moved on.
We've moved on, Jim. Anyway, I don't know. But yeah, so Liverpool. What are Liverpool buying? A Zeppelin? Did we say? I can't
Yeah,
remember.
his CEO of football's
like
going
a
to have a big
number of
Zeppelin's going to float
Zeppelins.
around to the different clubs that they look after.
Now you're talking. Right. But multi-club ownership, is that the future for the super clubs, Andy Brassel?
Look, it's been so successful for Manchester City in particular that a lot of clubs have been moving in that direction for.
Does that make Bayern more likeable in Germany?
For a
They
while.
started doing that.
The thing is, though,
Yeah,
you're looking at that from a here perspective. In a Germany perspective, Bayern are infinitely more likeable next to, say, RB Leipzig.
yeah, but no, not say next to specifically RB Leipzig. There's no one else who's you've got RB Leipzig the most dislikable, then Bayern, and then it's kind of
yeah, that's debatable.
You've got El Plastico, though, haven't you? Have you said between Bayer Leverkusen and Wolfsburg?
Yeah, Leverkusen and Wolfsburg are considered, and Hoffenheim are considered not real
all right.
by a lot
Andy,
of fans.
you've convinced me. I hate them all. Right, let's move on to something that's much more likeable. Gareth Southgate's England. The squad will be announced tomorrow. Now, of course, tournament squads have been reduced from 26 to 23 players.
Is this too early? This feels too early. I'm not done with the Premier League. Can we just move back a little bit? Just calm it down.
I thought you'd be happy
don't
with this.
know,
I
I
know
just
there's
think
the battle for 8th place, Peter.
What he's saying is he's in the FA Cup this weekend. That's what he's saying.
For about 20 minutes, yeah.
Yeah, well, Andy, you said on Monday night's Reacts that Cole Palmer won't make the squad.
I would be surprised.
Now, bearing in mind...
Said it in a gilet as well.
You were very Tim Sherwood about your look, but certainly not what you were saying, because obviously Tim Sherwood thinks Chelsea should be moulded around Cole Palmer because all of his teammates are utter shite, was basically what he was saying in that break ID.
I don't know why everyone had such a problem with it. I enjoyed it.
I did as
It's
well.
exactly what a pundit should be. Confusing.
Sounds drunk.
Sounds drunk. Shit, like it starts the sentence in the middle of the sentence. I just like it. I just liked everything about it.
Yeah. So anyway, sorry about the bollocks. So will Cole Palmer should Cole Palmer
Should Andy Cole play for England?
should Gareth Southgate mould the whole squad around Andy Cole and Carlton Palmer? Jim Campbell.
Got all talk sport. I would really like to see him in the squad. Just he has been so effective, and I suppose England don't play in a way that suggests an obvious position for Palmer. But I wonder if it might even be an option at striker, as he's played that way for Chelsea and has been really successful when he's done that. So
He can
I think
play
he's
on one of
playing
the flanks,
well
surely.
well, I don't know.
That's where he would go.
See, though, this discussion is completely opposite to what will be in Gareth Southgate's mind. And you touched on it at the beginning. With the squad only being 23, Palmer, to me, feels really nice to have rather than essential. And I think especially with a few of the defensive issues, I think maybe you need to be looking at a few... if I was
we will come on to the defence because, yes, there are big questions.
I think you need to be looking at a few utility players. I don't think he would be lovely to have. I would love to see him in there, as I said to Pete on Monday night. I just don't see the particular justification for it, given the competition in that end of the pitch.
I think that's a very, very concise and mature way of looking at it, Andy. So I think you're absolutely right. He's been involved in a lot of goals this season, in 19 to be precise, which is level with Jude Bellingham. And when all's said and done, he's not going to start, and he may be an impact sub, that kind of thing, but. The midfield and the defence are where, or one specific place in the midfield and in defence is where the question marks are. Declan Rice will be in that midfield and he'll play at the base of the midfield. Now, I know for Arsenal he kind of pushes up a bit more because Jorginho's there. He's given a little bit more freedom. At England, he won't be given that, but I think we're all okay with that. It's who will partner him at the base of midfield, if indeed they do have the two there and Bellingham in front, or who occupies the other spot if it's more of a pivot and you have Bellingham and someone else like it was in the World Cup.
Marcus, if between now and the Euros,
Yes.
Jordan Henderson dies,
Right.
Gareth Southgate will get a taxidermist to fit wheels in his feet,
Right.
and it will be either Declan Rice or Jude Bellingham's job in the tournament to
push him
wheel him
around,
around
yeah.
while they also do their own job.
Yeah.
Can Jude Bellingham do that celebration where he puts his head against Jordan Henderson? Or would that be seen as
It
a
would-
bit...
That
I'd
would be
into
a
it.
health risk, I think.
Okay.
Like Manchester
Well,
United.
I
don't
imagine
chicken.
he'd have been lacquered.
Yeah, someone lacquer Jordan Henderson for
Could
crying
we
out loud.
do, sorry, young people, for the reference, could it be a weekend at Bernie's kind of
Yeah,
situation with
we
Jordan
could-
Henderson if
yeah.
he died?
We can, if Bernie
Declan
gave
Rice
up on
and
all
Jude
of his
Bellingham have got him on a string.
Summer at Hendo's.
summer at Endos. There's the title. I smell a title. But it's, I mean,
And a rotting corpse.
I mean, Henderson's playing where he's playing and playing. All right, he had a good match in the week or whatever. But like, and Phillips is spent, so everyone else is injured.
John Joe Shelby.
It's got to be Stones.
Now you're
It's,
talking.
it's so frustrating that Curtis Jones is injured, isn't it? Because I think he's the midfielder who requires the most urgent attention as a potential England player. Because I think that is potentially really well balanced midfield.
Give it
and we're not going to get to see it.
Give it Stonesy.
Oh, so who's partnering Harry Maguire then? You see, you see,
Give it
you
Stonesy.
move one out, and there's a big gap there, and more questions are asked.
It's
I
like
would
saying, "Oh,
say.
you take out the team." I'm not taking out the team. He's in the team. He's just moved up a bit.
Yeah, well, can he? You know, when he goes, does he also stay? I don't understand. Well, yeah. So there is that question mark about who will play there. Trent Alexander-Arnold is injured, but people have said he could play there. You've mentioned Henderson. Well, he's playing in a proper league now, so Henderson will be in the squad. Because now, friend of the Ramble, your personal friend and mine, Lawrence McKenna, was once up at fairly recently up at St George's Park, where I've been myself watching England train, and he said the only person he could hear was Henderson
Right.
when they were training. And now, people might think, "Oh, he's a loud bugger." This is the point. He's there for so much more than even if he doesn't play, for driving people. He's almost like the unofficial captain.
And I think if we're talking about right now,
Yeah.
he is doing very, very well out of Calvin Phillips this season.
Oh, absolutely. But I think, look, Henderson has the experience. He has the leadership, blah, blah, blah. I don't think he should start.
Man
Let
and
me say
ball.
that.
Man and ball.
Man and ball. And if we need
Love
people-
means love. Come on. Come on.
Naughty. If we need someone to hurry up goalkeepers, we know he can run at them full pelt. So I
Full
think
pelt.
It's the Ajax way, Marcus. It's the Ajax way.
I disagreed with your comments, Andy, by the way, when you said that about Henderson, because they do love to press there. And if that's not pressing, I don't know what is.
Depressing.
All right.
You are a naughty bastard, and you know you are.
Look, he will be in the squad, as I say, even for personal, to bring that kind of personality and so on and so forth. But I don't want to spend too much time talking
He's an
about
inflatable unicorn for the
yeah.
new X generation.
If he needs to wear a unicorn outfit and Saka to ride him in a swimming pool, then fine, get him in.
All
there.
right. Yeah, I'm on board now.
No, I thought so. Harry Maguire might be a bit too much, but Saka perhaps.
Overinflate the unicorn.
So-
It's a blimp.
There we are, back to blimps. Phillips, we really want him to suddenly just take off and have a wonderful last few
He's
months
now
of the
not getting
season.
in the West Ham
He
team.
was
Yeah.
absolute dog shit at the weekend.
I know, like-
he had 2 passes. His opening 2 passes were like, oh my god.
Yeah, and which is such a shame because we know him and Rice can play well in midfield for England. That's the big frustration. And if we're frustrated about it, imagine his levels of
Well, this
frustration.
could be his coup de grace, Gareth Southgate. This could be his kind of like, look, you thought I would sort of stick with Maguire through thick and thin.
Yeah.
Well, check me out.
Well, I think he will stick with Phillips because.
You reckon?
Because. Well, this is what I think. Because he's, in a sense, he's worried about Phillips in an England shirt, if you see what I mean. And thus far, Phillips has always done okay for him.
So it's that he's fit enough to play. It's not whether he's playing well.
Well, so there is.
Is that what you're getting at?
It's never really been a
Basically,
meritocracy.
I think so. But anyway, people will disagree with that. That's just what I'm thinking. It wouldn't worry me too much. The other options in midfield. Now, see, again, these other options. So Ross Barkley's been mentioned, and Ross Barkley was even asked about this. I don't think it would be unreasonable. I think it would be a surprise.
But if we look at him or Ruben Loftus-Cheek,
Yeah.
there are reasons. But if we're talking about it in a Southgate context, it's way left field.
It is a bit left field, admittedly.
And that's not
Andy.
him.
No, I don't think so. I mean, if you wanted to say bring in somebody like Eberechi Eze, you have to restructure the midfield, and some people are calling for that midfield to be restructured. It puts a lot of pressure on Declan Rice. So you would have Rice in there. You'd have Bellingham on sort of, say, one sort of flanking in one side, if you like, and then you could have people want, I don't know, maybe Maddison or Foden in there and so on. I think that's very
The
unlikely.
thing is, I think Bellingham playing as that attacking midfielder for Madrid is like one of the best players in the world. I
Which
think
is
you
why
don't
I
ignore
think-
that, and you do as Southgate has been doing, and you play him in that position.
Yeah.
You've got a lot of good attacking talent, but you can't play them all.
Well, exactly, and I think that's where we get a little bit lost here. If you look at previous sides that have won tournaments, again, pragmatism seems to be the order of the day.
Absolutely. I think there's a massive difference between what would entertain me and picking our most exciting players and pick a team that is actually going to win the tournament.
Yeah, and that's all that's missing for England at the moment. I mean, people have been, saying that Southgate's a bit boring and whatnot. I've not been bored at all. England have scored so many goals at tournaments under Southgate. Like, you compare that to previous England sides at tournaments. It's been hardly any goals. I mean,
No one should be sitting there saying, I miss the glorious failure.
yeah,
Should they?
Oh, well, no, Andy. We were begging
None
for
of my
glorious
ex-girlfriends
failure.
ever said that.
Do you
We were
remember
begging for glorious failure when it just became failure.
Remember England Algeria?
Yeah.
Scientists study that game because somehow nothing happened.
Kobe Mainu.
Get out, Marcus.
Really? Are you because he
Because Southgate's just not going to pick him.
he hadn't started a league game when England last played?
Exactly.
He's
Something like
he's
that.
forced the question, hasn't he, Kobe Mainu?
Yeah.
If there
To
was
his immense
if
credit.
there was going to be something left fieldy that Southgate
Realistically lefty
did,
fieldy.
that is more the Southgate.
It would
I
be this,
agree.
and he'd never play, and he's just there to.
I don't
soak
know.
up the
Southgate
atmosphere.
has picked younger players before.
Yeah.
Not in a sort of a Sven Walcott kind of situation. But I don't think it is ridiculous because Declan Rice, it's not his God-given right not to get injured. No, I
Yeah.
know that sense. Do you see what I mean? You have to have a bit of a plan. If Rice got injured, I mean,
Jim
we
spent 2.5 hours shitting himself last night. What are you doing to him?
If he does get it, just put him in a bowl of rice. It doesn't make any sense.
Yeah.
Sorry, everyone.
Also, Apple have advised against that now. haven't
Exactly.
they?
Yeah, they said don't do that.
Oh, that was.
I was
such a-
enjoying that. I was
Yeah.
enjoying ruining some rice with water, toilet water.
But anyway, let's. So we've talked about the midfield there. Let's move on to the defence now. Alexander-Arnold, who probably would be more of a midfielder for England, but he's out. Trippier's out, not a long-term one. But who will play left back is a question because Trippier has played there before. But as I say, he's out injured for the moment. But again, not a big injury, but long-term injuries. I mean, Ben Chilwell can't seem to stay fit. When he's back, he's out injured and not that long after. Luke Shaw is going to be.
Yeah, neither of those are likely to have a lot of match fitness.
No,
by
I
the
mean,
time the tournament
I mean, at the
comes around.
moment, it's suggested that Shaw will be back sometime in May.
And I think that's one of the worst things you can do.
Yeah, it
like
is.
like take a player who's only just got back to
Yeah.
a
Has
tournament.
that ever worked? It probably has worked, but I mean, it's very, very scant examples, one would suggest.
Yeah, indeed. Yeah. So the two players that have been so often talked about at left back for England are injured. Levy Cole is a doubt too. Now, Levy Cole, where's his best position? Would it be?
Yeah.
But we know he can operate at left back, but he's a bit of a doubt at the moment. Don't know whether he'll be picked or not on the basis of that. Rico Lewis played there not that long ago, but again, he's been out. He's not played that much. You suddenly start to think, ooh, this is getting a little bit thin on the ground. Also at centre half, Mark Gay, who's been an ever-present in the Southgate squad, not so much of a starter, but still, he's had a long-term injury as well. So suddenly in the defence, you start to think,
Smaldini.
that would be left field, Andy.
Oh, but it'd be wonderful.
Mm.
You're referring
And
to
an-
Chris Smalling, aren't you?
Yes, and an endorsement of going vegan as well.
Yeah. Work for Jermaine Defoe?
Yeah, absolutely.
Okay, mate. Ooh, maybe.
I think the sensible option, which obviously Southgate leans heavily towards as often as possible, with the players who are available, is Joe Gomez. Because he's played there for Liverpool, he's acquitted himself well. Andy
And
Robertson's not getting back in the team.
And
Yeah.
Raheem Sterling doesn't seem to be in the England squad anymore,
Well.
so they can't have that punch-up again in the canteen.
Yeah, well, exactly.
I mean, I wonder if Joe Gomez fell foul of that, because we know Southgate is very, very keen on squad harmony. In fact, not just harmony, like the good times and the good vibes. And I think anybody who he feels doesn't really fit the squad or could even maybe slightly take something away, because Gomez and Sterling did have that bust-up, didn't they?
Yeah.
And Sterling was such a crucial player under Southgate for a time. I wonder if that still plays in Southgate's mind. I mean, take like Ben White. Now, there's been a number of reasons, speculate. There's been a number of theories about why Ben White was not picked or bombed out the squad or this, that, and the other.
The most prominent one is that he didn't do his homework, basically, when given it by Steve Holland. But, as I've said before, like I think it's worth mending that fence for Southgate because he's a very versatile player, very, very good player, and he would bring a lot to the squad. Yeah. He's probably got a holiday booked, so it's all moot anyway. But
yeah, so Joe Gomez and Ben White would certainly be two who, all being well, would be in the squad, you would think.
On form, there's no argument with either of them, is there? And I think that versatility that Jim was talking about. I mean, Gomez, you're getting 3 positions out of him?
Yeah.
Everyone needs to just grow up and get Tino Livramento in there.
There it is.
Hey.
Well, Pete Donaldson.
He does Sol Campbell style tackling. He does run up the field.
What era Sol Campbell? We need to specify.
The endless slide tackle.
So sort of towards the end of his career.
Toward the end of his career, when he joined Newcastle. But if you want a player who's going to excel in a shit team, Tino Livramento is very much your man at the moment. He's having a lovely time. And Gareth has been to matches there where he has been observed. So
I think it's not a ridiculous thing to say.
He gets the ball moving very, very quickly. I know he's only really got 1 or 2 positions, but still, I think...
well, how many positions has Harry Kane got?
Exactly. Good point.
Yeah.
Part of the problem is that, we've identified so many potential holes in the team here. Yeah. And Southgate only really...
We're not going to win it, Jim.
Well, he only realistically has this coming up, like this forthcoming international break to look at new players, right? Because there's one just before the tournament, but obviously that's just tweaking things. So the issue is, he could pick a really experimental team and give loads of these players a go at once, but you don't learn anything that way because they're not playing in the team they're supposed to fit into.
The tweaking will be this. The tweaking will start now. And with regards to what you said, friendlies just before the tournament and all that kind of stuff, that'll pretty much be the squad, and you're trimming it down by maybe a few players. So yeah,
the bottom line is the Bundesliga is going to save us.
Yeah,
Jude Bellingham, Harry Kane.
Yeah.
Being brought up by the Bundesliga into the stratosphere.
Yeah.
Jadon Sancho among the goals.
Yeah.
God blimey, eh? I know you'd be up for that, Andy.
I would be up for that. But of course he scored the winner for Dortmund at the weekend. And they then gave this interview where he said, I don't think I played very well. He said, I judge myself negatively.
Is that right?
It was really sad.
Maybe he spoke to Ten Hag after the game. Do you see what I did? No, you're rubbish.
Yeah, maybe.
I don't know. Well, Andy, how about this? Reports suggest that both ITV and the BBC want Jürgen Klopp, former Dortmund manager, of course, as a pundit for the Euros this summer. Apparently he's heading there as a fan, though, and isn't interested.
I would love Klopp as a pundit.
I love how no one is listening to the words that Klopp is saying.
I need a break.
It was like,
cool.
Maybe are you going to take over at a new club, or maybe you stay at Liverpool. You want to be a pundit? I miss my wife. Let me see my wife.
Can you imagine what the BBC would be willing to pay for Jürgen Klopp? It would be an astronomical fee to get him to do anything.
Did you say Jürgen Klopp there? I mean, that costs a lot. It costs a lot to create a man, but what a pundit!
The thing is, there will be people listening to this going, "Oh yeah, he's a great personality. It'll be fun." But actually, he was a top-level pundit before he was a top-level coach. I reckon if you go back to the 2006 World Cup in Germany, it made him a household name,
really?
his punditing during the World Cup. Right. And that's why, when he got the Dortmund job, people were excited. Because normally, if a manager goes from Mainz to Dortmund, it was just like, whatever, diminished means. Yeah. But it was like, oh, it's that guy off the telly, wow.
Did he give people both barrels? I'd imagine he'd be quite forceful as a pundit and quite...
Frank. Yeah.
Yes.
I definitely prefer it to the José Mourinho in Portugal style of circular breathing, speaking for 4 minutes without taking a breath.
Yeah, I think he would just be a bit of a misery guts obviously, but as a pundit.
He's interesting, but bloody hell, I mean, there's only 90 minutes of a football match, isn't there?
There is indeed. And we've got some of them tonight, Andy. Bournemouth take on Luton in the Premier League. Luton Town, this is, of course, to replay the fixture that saw Tom Lockyer suffer a cardiac arrest back in December. Oh. So that fixture will be fulfilled. Also, we've got Champions League, Atletico Madrid versus Inter, and Dortmund, the aforementioned, versus PSV. 2 of those 4 will join Arsenal and those teams in the quarterfinals. There we are, everybody. Thank you very much for listening to the Football Ramble, part of the Acast Creator Network. Patreon subscribers, don't go anywhere. Keep listening for Ramble Uncut. And if you're not Patreon subscribers, sign up to get Ramble Uncut every single Wednesday. Head over to patreon.com/Football Ramble. Also, follow us on X, which you can find at twitter.com, TikTok, YouTube, and Instagram at Football Ramble, and follow us on Spotify. Thank you, Andy B.
Thanks.
Thank you, PDD.
Fuck off.
Thank you, Jimmy C.
Cheers.
Yeah, okay, I will.
Cheers for watching another fantastic clip from the Football Ramble podcast. Make sure you click like on this video and subscribe to the channel, which means you will not miss a single upload.